Hello, my name is Sarah Arce. I'm a Rogers State senior. This is my Capestone project. Today I will be speaking on concepts of an organizational leader and how you can motivate productivity. Larry Wingate wrote, it's called Work for a Reason. He states that business gets better when the people in the business get better. Work groups, many companies nowadays are finding it challenging to get their employees motivated. In order to promote some productivity, they've decided to use cross-organizational teams, and many of these teams work on larger projects. These work groups also encourage diversity. Organizational leaders are an important part of the team dynamic. They help direct the team, provide a mission, and assist with motivation and communication. There are three main points that I'd like to discuss with the organizational leader themselves. It's that there are different management styles that help to promote motivation. An organizational leader also provides support and advice their work group to keep communication open. Lastly, they implement the organization's ethics and in order to focus the team's work and to promote compliance within the organization's code of conduct. Before I get started, if you could please either turn to page 2 or if you could reference slide 2, there's a few terms that I believe that you should know before I get started. There's what's called the transformational management style. This uses a form of feedback and positive reinforcement to instill morale within the individual and the work group in order to create motivation. Transactional management style is actually a performance rewards system. Basically, it focuses on the individual themselves and not the team, and the individual, if they are productive within the realm that the leadership and management personnel decide, then they are rewarded as an individual and not as a team. Motivation itself is the underlying reason for why people do what they do. Also, the company code of conduct is a platform of acceptable set of behaviors that applies to everyone within the organization. And then lastly, company culture. It is referred to as the values and practices, norms, and beliefs that are shared by the company's employees to help them know how to do what they need to do. An organizational leader sets the tone for projects. They motivate and resolve conflict in order to create a cohesive team. It's important to understand that motivation is not the same for everyone. You can have 2 employees doing the same job, however, their motivation for doing that job could be from 2 completely different situations. It's also important to note that motivation changes for an employee. What might motivate an employee today may not motivate them in the future. Ann Bruce states that as a leader, you need to know that there is a direct link between the employee motivation and employee performance. In fact, it can be positively outrageous connection depending on the culture of your organization and the enthusiasm and excitement your company culture instills in its people. There are actually several barriers that can cause demotivation in the team dynamic. According to Nancy Ulrich, some of these 5 barriers that cause disengagement include negative assumption about age, and the fact that employees know that they are the most important asset to the company. The best ideas for projects come from outside the organization. The best way to manage people is to treat them like they are all the same, and that if employees would just do their job, then everything would be fine. A lot of people have the thought that as employees age, that they become less useful and that their skill set becomes outdated. This is untrue. Current employees, whether they are younger or older, can still be innovative and a productive part of the team dynamic. Also, that employees should know that they are the most important asset to the company. without positive reinforcement, this can actually be a demotivator because employees don't realize that they are such a big asset unless they are reminded, and this could be through motivation and engagement within the team dynamic itself. The best ideas come from outside the organization. Again, this goes back to the fact that employees that are currently hired still have updated skills, assets, they're productive, and they can be innovative and assist in the company with new projects. Again, to determine that managing people all the same is, again, incorrect. What motivates an individual is based on the individual themselves. No two people are the same, and what motivates productivity changes from one day into the future. And if every employee would just do their job, everything would be fine. Again, an employee could fulfill every section of their job that's required and not be performing to the best of their ability. If an employee is disengaged, they may just be doing the minimum, which can actually impact the team and ultimately the company themselves. The best way to create and harbor motivation within the team dynamic is to listen to your subordinates about their concerns and ideas, and also allow them to help implement policy and project ideas. Motivational styles will vary based on management style. Again, referring back to transformational leadership style, this recognizes the individual and works towards a bigger vision. Transactional motivation focuses on a cost-reward system, which is performance-based. In order for a leader to determine what style works best for them, there are several things that they should determine, several factors that go into play. These factors include business strategy, business culture, current employee skill sets, potential employees' skill sets, and the overall execution of the business plan. As an organizational leader, you need to look to your company's business strategy, determine and analyze what the current and future leadership capabilities are. That means looking at the other managers around you and taking into their skill assets and the assets within their team. You need to develop a leadership development strategy plan, which means that all the organizational leaders should get together and determine what their teams have to offer and what they might need in the future. When they go to hire new employees, they would want to fill the void with these new employees and those skill sets. By taking into account current assets, future assets, business strategy, and the corporate's vision, they can actually help the organization to achieve their goals. Organizational leaders are also there to support and advise their team to keep communications open. They understand that communication is important to success and that communication breakdowns can cause the team to suffer. Breakdowns in communication can include personal insults, invading of personal private space, threats and intimidation, sarcastic jokes, and just ignoring employees altogether. If you'll please refer to slide 5, you'll find further emphasis and examples of the breakdown in the communications for the team dynamic. Recognizing these warning signs for breakdown in communication is also the goal of an organizational leader. The Thomas Kilman model states that there are 5 types of conflict. These conflict styles include avoidance, competition, accommodation, compromise, and collaboration. According to the Thomas Kilman model, assertiveness refers to the attempt to satisfy one's own concerns, while cooperativeness represents the attempt to satisfy the concerns of others. Each conflict style is characterized by how much assertiveness and how much cooperativeness the individual shows when confronting each other. Again, this is slide 6 if you're following on a paper copy, and slide 6 if you are following on the electronic version. It's important for the organizational leader to look at, if you look at the model, you'll see that An unassertive, uncooperative person is actually avoiding the conflict altogether. If you're too assertive, then you become a competitive person and can cause conflict within the team dynamic. If you are too cooperative, then you can find yourself becoming too accommodating, and you're not looking at yourself as an individual, and can become demotivated because you are accommodating everybody else on the team. It's the job of the organizational leader to try and find that medium, which is going from the avoiding, unassertive, uncooperative to a collaborative effort. You can do that through compromise. So as an organizational leader, you want to look at the person as the individual and help them become motivated. When the team's motivated, they become productive and they can complete company projects. When they're completing company projects, they're actually compromising and collaborating towards the company's vision and ultimately complying within their code of ethics and the company culture itself. Organizational leaders can actually also help minimize the cost of employee conflict through conflict resolution. Many people are unaware of the fact that when employees become unmotivated, they sometimes seek opportunities elsewhere. If they leave the company, this costs the company not only a severance package, but also the cost of seeking out a new employee, getting that new employee trained, and this is all part of the company's turnover rate and overhead costs. Through conflict resolution and motivating the employee and productivity, they can cut the overhead costs, save the company money, and help increase productivity. If you'll please refer to slide 7, Kenneth Cloak and Joan Goldsmith state that the democratic strategic planning model empowers cross-organizational, cross-functional teams to define and drive the planning process. Everyone in the organization then uses the collaborative consensus based on an inclusive process to identify and answer questions about the company values, vision, mission statement, and action plan. Organizational leaders assist with conflict resolution by remaining unbiased. It's a common misconception that organizational leaders are natural conflict resolution experts. This is untrue. Many people have to go through conflict resolution training in order to learn the techniques to become unbiased and to help resolve problems within the team dynamic or within the problems between employees in the organization or organization to organization conflicts resolution themselves. This can be done by the organizational leader looking at the problem itself, recognizing that they might have personal feelings about the conflict, acknowledging those feelings, and then moving past them. An individual will be a lot more receptive to adjusting their project plans, adjusting their mindset, and open communication if they feel that the resolution comes from an unbiased source. Ann Bruce states that protecting people's dignity and self-respect is one of the most important things an organizational leader can do. The lack of dignity is a big demotivator. Her tips state that you shouldn't point fingers, that if you have feedback to provide to the employee, it should be done in private, that you should watch your tone of voice and not use a condescending tone, that you should avoid personal attacks and behave as a professional at all times. In order to get respect, you have to show respect. If you'll please refer to page 8 or slide 8 in your electronic PowerPoint, we'll move on to the organization and code of ethics. The organizational leader needs to know the importance of the code of ethics. In 2002, Congress passed the Sarbanes-Oxley Act to reestablish public trust in the marketplace. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act attempts to improve the organizational ethics by defining the code of conduct, and employees and upper management level are required to support this. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act is attempting to encourage organizational culture that inspires ethical conduct and a pledge to conform to the law. This code of conduct is not just about corporate espionage anymore. It includes basically a manual of what the law outlines and also what the company culture and vision outline. It can include ethical concerns, reporting practices, expectations of supervisors, harassment, protection of personal data, fair competition practices, and how to keep accurate records. Also, it's important to note that a code of conduct should also include new directives and employee participation. This will increase the knowledge of company procedure and encourage future use of the code of conduct. If an employee on any level helps to participate to write the code of conduct, it's more likely that they'll use it in the future. If they have an ethical question, they'll know where to refer to, and if they have any questions, they can go to their leader or management for further information on the topic. Cloak and Goldsmith state that in an effort to create this new culture, employees should be encouraged to participate in the creation of the new code of conduct. Using information provided by all employees and introduction of new norms, expectations, behaviors, and rewards should be encouraged. Furthermore, it is important to redesign the structure, systems, processes, and relationships that include punishment, evaluation, assessments, in an effort to increase the team member camaraderie. In conclusion, it's important to note that an organizational leader should be there in order to support and advise their work group to keep communications open, that they need to know that there are different management styles out there to promote motivation in their team dynamic, and that they should focus on the organization's code of ethics. By doing so, they can promote compliance within the organization's code of conduct. In closing, the role of the organizational leader is to motivate their employees in order to get them to work together as a team. An important thing to consider is that not all employees are the same, and the challenge is knowing how to treat the individual while still maintaining the team dynamic that produces results. The foundations for this are communication and expectations. By keeping open communication with your team, you'll help to motivate productivity. By keeping the expectations, they know what they should be doing and how they should be doing it within the code of conduct. By keeping an open mind, the work group will also feel as though that the conflict that may occur will be treated with an unbiased resolution. After open communication is established, the code of conduct should be implemented by all employees, and all employees should help to create this vision. Due to the fact that all employees helped create the code of conduct, everyone can be sure that the rules of self-government apply to all levels of the organization. With transparency at all levels of the organization, the business is surely going to succeed and see an increase in productivity. Thank you.